Hello guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we are taking our first look at Call of Duty Modern Warfare gameplay. And this footage is from the PlayStation 4 Pro version of the game. And what you're seeing here is a brand new game mode called Gunfight. And this is pretty straightforward and it's something new for the franchise. So it's a 4-player 2 versus 2 game mode. And it features very small custom-made confined maps, and they're actually the smallest that will be available in the game. So when a round starts, each team gets the same loadout. So that's your primary, your secondary, tacticals, lethals, and it's up to you and your teammate to try and overcome the enemy because they've got exactly the same thing. And the loadouts that you're given will switch every 2 rounds, and the first team to win 6 rounds will win that map. Each round of this will last 40 seconds, so these are very quick, fast-paced rounds, and after that, overtime will begin and a flag will spawn. And the flag is pretty much dead center of the map in all of these maps, and it will spawn if one or both players of each team are still alive at the start of the overtime, and then each team has got 10 seconds to capture that flag, and it takes around 3 seconds in total to capture it. And during the overtime, if you do manage to capture the flag, then you will win that round and defeat the other team. But if no one defeats the other team or captures the flag, then the team with the higher health wins. But if both teams have the same amount of health, then the round will be a draw. So in all, it's a very tense and tactical experience, and you can see this being super competitive. There are no kill streaks here, there are no perks, there's no regenerating health, and one thing that some of you with a keen eye may have noticed already, there is no minimap. And if you've played a lot of the COD games, you'll know that the minimap is such a big, important piece of detail in terms of the gameplay and learning the game and understanding where enemies are, how to get good at it, how to read it, and then position yourself tactically. Now, we don't know if the minimap is going to be in the other multiplayer modes for this game. I think it makes sense that it's not in this particular game mode because the maps are just so small. But what if it isn't in the main multiplayer? And this all plays into how much more hardcore and tactical and slower paced it appears that this game is going to be. If you just watch this multiplayer gameplay, the pace of it seems much slower than the last few Call of Duty titles, and when I got to see the single player back at E3, that's the vibe that I got, that they were going for a much more tactical, thoughtful experience here. The guns look like they've got recoil on them, which means there's going to be a bigger skill gap. So the people who really dedicate time and effort to learning the guns and the recoil patterns and bursting and getting their aim on point, going for headshots, are really going to be the ones that excel. The time to kill here looks super quick too. The guns in this game are lethal. You may have noticed too, at certain points when you're up against a wall or a window or something, you do have the option to mount the gun, and that appears to give you better accuracy and less recoil. So perhaps a more defensive option for people that want to play like that, holding down an angle and just hosing people as they come into view. Of course, there are some typical Call of Duty-like features here. For example, the reload time looks incredibly short, and also switching between primary and secondary weapons is quick, as well as the typical quickly being able to toss out a stun grenade or a flashbang. Also, vaulting will return. We've got no indication yet though if we'll be able to climb up small walls and hoist ourselves over the top. What's interesting to look at is the sprinting speed as well. It almost appears as if there is an acceleration to the speed of the characters, or 2 different sprinting speeds. One which is kind of like a light jog, the other which is a full-blown sprint. But what is evident here is that you won't really be able to sprint into gunfights anymore like you can in typical Call of Duty fashion, so positioning and planning will be much more valuable this time around. In terms of the overall look of the game and the graphics, well, I think it's obvious that this is running on a brand new engine, and the developers Infinity Ward have made no secret about that, and they've said that they've spent years building this new engine specifically for this game. I mean, for once the new COD looks like a decent looking current gen game. This looks like a game that's made in 2019. And I think in particular the lighting is very impressive, and on PC this game will support Nvidia RTX and have ray tracing integration. Now, this gameplay itself was presented in 4K, as I said, running on a PlayStation 4 Pro, but I think at times it can look a little bit blurry, and I imagine that's because it's not running at native 4K on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and they're using their upscaling technique there to get it to that resolution. But you can imagine how sharp this is going to look with a native 4K presentation on PC. Now, of course, the console version of the game here is running in 60 FPS, so it is as smooth as typical COD players would expect it to be. The last couple of COD games for PC, I think, have been pretty good versions of those games. Black Ops 4 in particular was an excellent PC version, and it had a ton of customization and options in there for graphics, controls, key bindings, field of view, frame rate options. It was all in there, and everything that you would expect from your typical PC game was included. So I hope that the developers Infinity Ward will continue that trend for this game and include all of the usual lovely PC features that we expect should be there. I have to say though that I think Infinity Ward are absolutely nailing the aesthetic and the feel and the themes of this game. It looks and feels like a modern version of COD 4, Modern Warfare. Even down to the way that the UI is designed, the way the characters hold the weapons and the amount of the arms that you can see when you aim down the sight. The sounds, the music, the general feel of it is just ticking all of the right boxes for me. And I'm starting to think that this could be a big return to form for Call of Duty. It's a modern warfare game, which I know a lot of FPS fans have been just screaming out for in the last couple of years. There's been a ton of historic and sci-fi future shoot-em-ups, but really apart from a game like Siege, we haven't typically had a game like this in the last few years. Especially coming from a AAA developer and publisher. I mean, we've had something like Insurgency, which I think is a brilliant game, but it's from an indie studio and it doesn't have the same level of sheen and polish and scope of something like a Call of Duty game. So I think that when this releases, it's going to be absolutely huge. In terms of other multiplayer modes, well, we don't really know much, but I'm sure it will have the typical TDM, hardpoint, all the usual. We know that Spec Ops is coming, and there's also been some leaks from a reputable leaker, apparently, about a Battle Royale mode for this game developed by Raven Software. Now, I didn't expect anything like Battle Royale for this game, but the rumours are that the map is absolutely huge and it's kind of made up of existing Call of Duty maps where they've stitched them all together, kind of like they did in certain areas of the Blackout map from Black Ops 4. Raven Software, who are they? Well, they're a pretty decent developer in my opinion. One of their first ever games was called Soldier of Fortune, and that's a game that I played a lot in my teenage years. They've also worked on other Call of Duty titles as a supporting developer, and they made the Modern Warfare Remastered that came out a couple of years ago. So if they are handling this apparently leaked, rumoured Battle Royale mode that's said to be free to play, again, imagine a Modern Warfare Battle Royale mode free to play with this level of sheen and polish. That could be massive too. And I don't think that every game needs a Battle Royale mode, and like I said, I didn't expect it with this particular game. But what I would like to see though in the main multiplayer modes is more player counts. I would love to see like a 20v20 mode or something like that on a big map. COD does have the Ground War game mode, which is typically more players, but what if they went for something like 32v32 and really started to push into that typical Battlefield user base? That could be huge. We know that the devs and Activision have kind of been testing that with Blackout. That was up to what, like 88 players at one point, and I recall that they said in an interview once that when they were developing and testing the game, they tried up to something like 120 players on that map. And what did you have in that map? Well, rocket launchers, helicopters that you could fly, transport vehicles, armoured vehicles, trucks, short range, medium range, and really long range combat. COD hasn't really had long range combat until Blackout. It's almost like that was their proof of concept. So is it really that much of a stretch to argue that perhaps in this game we might be getting that sandbox type of gameplay that Battlefield is known for, but in a Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare? As we all know, BF5, it's not been received very well by a lot of the player base, and a lot of the fans wanted to see a return to Modern Warfare like BF3 or BF4. So if this game does offer a bigger sandbox type game mode in multiplayer, that could really start to chip into the Battlefield franchise. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this game. And perhaps all the answers will be revealed soon, because Activision have announced that on August the 1st there's going to be a massive worldwide multiplayer reveal for this game with a deep look at all the gameplay, all the different game modes and everything that's coming at launch. And also the beta for the game will be available first for PS4 players on August the 20th. PC and Xbox, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until a week later on August 27th to get our hands on it. And that's all for today, guys. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think based on seeing gameplay for the first time? If you enjoyed the video, give me a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, hit that bell for all notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.